Hey, how you doing? Are you excited for a new episode of 100% Minecraft? Yeah, you are. I knew it. Oh, I can just punch you. Wow, that's so unfair. I've been sitting around a lot during the nights, because obviously we can't skip it yet. It's the Minecraft Alpha and I've not updated yet. But that does mean that I can see I guess the moon set every single time. I mean, this is definitely the wrong direction if I want to see the sun. Anyway, I have plans for today. Last time we didn't get to building. Today I have at least 3 projects that I kind of have in mind. And we will start with the first one in just a moment. So between episodes I actually did a lot of wood chopping. It does take quite some time because I have limited amount of iron, so I'm just using stone tools. And I'm actually running out of stone. Like, I don't really have a lot of that stuff, and I will need that one for today's project, because obviously we can't just build with wood. Like, wood is really limited in this version. I have like some wood on me. Let's just show you for just a brief moment. So those are all the options that I have. Let's try to make some stairs. Stairs exist. They also look very funky. Let's try to do some slabs. I'm quite sure that this isn't a slab. Yeah, this is kind of a pressure plate. So, yeah, also I kind of broke it. For some reason I thought I didn't, like I would not break it, but I guess I just can't pick up pressure plates again in this version. Yeah, you can see this is actually quite limited what I can use. I have stairs, and the funky thing about stairs is, first of all, you can't place them upside down. What just? Huh? It's just a block now. Why did that happen? Anyway, you can't just place them down normally. They're still quite buggy. Also, I think the proper tool is currently a sword. Right? Yeah, it's still a sword. And if you break them, you just get a plank back. So yeah, you're very limited when it comes to any building blocks in here. So I can't just rely on wood. I need a lot of stone. And this is actually quite useful because it's going to combine with our other project for today. Today I also want to build a spider farm. This has 2 reasons. First of all, I checked if I relog into the world, I'm actually able to pick up string again. Sadly, all the string I picked up in the last episode did get deleted. I don't know how that happened. My theory is that I had a full inventory and I created like a ghost item slot that shouldn't have existed, and now all the string I picked up was put into that ghost item slot. Just my theory, I don't actually know how the code is currently looking in this version, so yeah, can't really talk about that. That's just my first theory, and relogging fixed that, removed that item slot, and now I can pick up string again. I was actually able to pick up at least 1 string. And obviously the second reason is that we need a lot of building blocks like cobblestone and stone, because we are quite limited otherwise, so let's get digging, I guess? Well, and we are done. Only took like 3 or 4 hours to dig all of this, but look at all of our cobblestone here. I'm obviously keeping the area very dark around here just so the spiders actually spawn. I just dug an 11 by 11 room down there, just because the spawning space that most mobs actually need is around 9 by 9. Then I'm going to add like a little bit of a rim around there, just because we have spiders and they obviously are slightly larger. They kind of need a 3 by 3 space to properly spawn. And I also don't want them to touch the walls directly, just because once they get updated, in the future they are going to be a lot better at climbing, and I would like to avoid that. I hope this is enough. Maybe we have to extend that at some point. And you may be asking, why didn't I just get like a water stream and a lava blade? Well, look at the cobble. We are going to need a lot of stone, and I would like to just have a lot for the future builds. This farm is obviously not automated. We don't have any hoppers or similar. We actually, if I want to collect a string, I have to wait up here for all of the mobs to die. And then, because the spawner is quite a lot higher than the floor down here, so it should be like a 20 block drops roundabout. Then I can just go here and pick up all the string. Look at that. I started with like 20-ish string or so this is like another 20 or so. And as you can see, the spawners are actually doing anything while I'm down here. Minor thing about alpha, Look at those ladders. I mean, we only have a ladder every second block. Well, that also means that those ladders are quite a bit more expensive than they are nowadays. When we use 7 sticks, we actually only get 1 ladder out of there. Just like that. But in return, I don't actually have to use a ladder every single space. Ladders actually change like a few times over the versions, which is interesting. But because nobody can actually see anything here, I kind of want to use a lighting glitch that has existed in the past, which you might have seen here. As you can see, there's a torch behind the slab, and it looks kind of illuminated, but the light doesn't actually come through, and it actually ends at the slab. I kind of want to build like a rim around the entire spawner, just so we have like a little bit of light. Just put like a few slabs down. Let's see if this works as I imagine it does. Ah, look at that. Dark again, but we can at least see like that wall, and if I stand on the other side, I hope it has the desired effect. Kind of. If I remove the front wall here, we might be actually able to see everything. You may have also noticed that I'm using those weird stone slabs. Well, those are just cobblestone slabs in this version. As you can see, if I use 3 cobblestone, I'm getting 3 of those slabs. It's not the most efficient way to actually build, but hey, it's at least something. Well, I hope that this is slightly better. It's not great, you can probably just see the lights in the background and that's it, but I can't really improve upon it too much, because if I get like proper lighting in here, then the spawner's going to get a lot worse. The only thing that's really missing to have this get like a real beta feel is probably just to remove the ceiling and replace it with glass, so we have like a proper skylight, or like I guess a water light, because we are below the ocean. So the water should actually stop all of the light from coming through, so it should stay dark enough, I hope. But it seems like maybe it's actually not enough water, just judging by the light over there. There might also just be a torch up there, that's probably more likely now that I think about it. I also made a bow, and I hope that the light over here is enough to actually... Oh, I just shot an arrow. Is enough to actually demonstrate this. As we can see, I have 8 arrows and my bow, and you can see I can't actually draw the bow. Instead I can just hold right click and rapid fire shoot all of those arrows. And as you can see, this doesn't actually use any durability. It is only the arrows that we have to pay attention to, and I can just make a lot of arrows just because flint is really cheap, feathers we are getting from zombies as well as chickens, and chickens just respawn all the time anyway. And sticks, I mean. It's really cheap, and also we have like some skeletons that we can probably find. I hope that we can find a skeleton spawner soon, and that would be amazing. And with that, it's time to leave our little hole here. I have extended the ladder shaft up to the water here, just to actually have a proper entrance. Is a lot easier than going through the caves. As we can see, the sun is rising somewhere behind those hills. Ah, yes, sunrise. Well, one of the biggest issues that I'm currently facing is actually that I have to wait through every single night, and it just takes up so much, and I mean so much time. I've used like a lot of the time to just smelt items, but we really need like a better kind of safety perimeter around our base, if we want to call it that. But before we can get to building, it's probably time to look at this little project over here. This is the list of everything I need to do before we can update. With an asterisk, obviously. As I already mentioned, I'm only enforcing that rule to update to beta 1.2. These are all the items that are currently inside of the files of the game. With an asterisk, I'm going to talk about that in a second. There are some items on here that are actually not obtainable currently. Like for example, the first one being a cobweb. Cobwebs have been in the game for quite some time, but they only were added like a lot later. I think like in the full release of Minecraft, where you could actually get them. They are part of the textures already though, so we can actually remove them. By the way, signs absolutely suck in this version. They don't stack, you only get 1 per craft, and you can't even break them quickly using an axe. The next one over here is obviously bedrock. Bedrock is not obtainable. I'm gonna leave it on here though, because we can at least see it, and I have like some ideas what I want to do with like all of the not obtainable blocks in here. On this side we actually see some more unobtainable stuff, like for example the diamond and redstone ore. We do not have silk touch. Silk touch gets introduced after the full release of Minecraft, as well as all the other enchantments. So we will not be, like we can find those items, but we obviously cannot place them in a chest. Same for example, spawners. We need 3 different types of spawners. We've already found the spider one, which I'm very happy about. The other 2 have to be found still. Then we have snow and ice. Interestingly enough, they have actually existed since alpha. but they only existed on certain snowy maps that you could generate. They had like a chance to generate. I don't actually think that the current version of Minecraft that I'm playing in allows the generation of those worlds. They are technically inside of the game files, we just can't actually access them, like no matter what we want to do. We can actually get all of the items on this list. The only interesting one is actually cactus. So from my research, because I had to look that one up, there are no biomes in the game yet, but cactus should just randomly grow on sand. I just have to find it. This list obviously also quite achievable, except for fire. Like fire, obviously we can't just pick it up. Interestingly enough, if we ever wanted to craft chain armor, we can do that using fire. If we get a fire item in our inventory, which obviously not quite possible. The next list only has like one outstanding item, which is the sponge. Sponges have existed in classic Minecraft already, which is like, you know, a web version that you used to be able to play. Maybe you can still play that, I'm actually not quite sure. Sponges have existed back then already, but they have not been reintroduced to survival Minecraft, and they will not be for a long time. And another list of items that we can actually all get, except for farmland. I mean, we can create farmland, but obviously we cannot pick that up. That's something that's like never possible outside of creative mode. And wheat growing. I'm actually talking about like the wheat blocks. They're like different stages, right? They have existed back then, obviously. Then we've reached the actual items. There are 4 sets of... No, okay, there are technically 5 sets of armor with 4 pieces each. Leather, iron, gold, diamond, and chain. As I mentioned before, chain can only be obtained by crafting it with fire, and we obviously can't get fire, so this is out of the list. Tools, we have like different ones, 5 pieces each, because I count a sword as a tool in this case, just to make it a little bit easier on my list. Then we have apples. Apples are actually quite interesting, because obviously in modern Minecraft they just drop from oak trees. They have not done that in the past. We have to find them near a spawner. Same goes for golden apples, but they can technically be crafted once we get an apple. But it's probably kind of a waste because it takes a full stack of gold, and that's just kind of too much. Snowballs obviously also aren't really achievable because there's no snow. Looking at the list of paintings in one of the texture files, there seem to be 24 at the moment. And there's also this item called a quiver. Quivers have existed in Minecraft, at least in the textures, for a long time, and they were just at some point removed. They never got any functionality. We also can't obtain them. And another fun list of items. In this one, the most interesting one is actually the fishing rod, because fishing rods exist already, we can craft them, but they have no functionality yet. And then we have like all of the containers with like buckets and the different types. Milk buckets don't do anything yet. We also have the mushroom stew, which would be a great food item. We could probably make a farm because mushrooms are actually quite crazy in the old versions. And the last list that we can find in the textures. Quite simple, we have minecarts, we have bolts. We also have like 2 music discs that we can find. But we can also farm them using the whole creeper and skeleton tactic. But those are only the items that we can actually see in the texture files, but there technically are still a few more inside of the game. We have pressure plates which use the stone and the wood texture, which is why we can't see them inside of the resource pack. There also is a stone button, again uses the stone texture. Also they are crafted quite weirdly. Then there are fences, also wood texture. We can use them. They are kinda wonky pre-full release, but we are going to talk about them once we use them. And last but not least, we have stairs out of cobblestone and wood. Thinking about the list, like there are a few outliers in my opinion that are quite interesting. Like for example, maybe you have not noticed this, but I definitely did after playing for a little bit. Bones don't actually exist in Minecraft yet. They were introduced in beta 1.2 when they introduced dyes into the game because they needed a white dye. That also means that there's no bone meal yet. And while I would love to actually build something, that does mean that we are really limited when it comes to different building options. So let's talk about our choices. So these are all the blocks that we can actually use in our build. And as we can see, some of them actually change their textures. Like for example, we only have white wool, we don't have different types later on. Cobblestone looks vastly different, same for gravel. But this is quite a limiting palette, but people in the past have managed to build something. So my goal was to build like a lumber mill, so I got to designing. I'm not a big builder, I'm more of a base builder instead of like a house builder, so this actually was quite difficult for me actually. In the beginning I actually wanted to design a water wheel, and my first idea was to just build like kind of a circle and, you know, add these wooden planks, I guess. But as you can see, we have kind of a massive problem when it comes to building, and that is the blocks. They are kind of massive. We don't actually have any smaller blocks we can use for more detail. We technically do have stairs as an option, Not even slabs, just stairs, but stairs can only be placed upside down. They cannot be placed, you know, the other side around. So this is where I started, and I was just looking at this and thought, you know what, like just shape-wise, this looks kind of too straight. Like the main issue is that this doesn't really imply movement. It's just like, it looks like a massive steering wheel, if you ask me. So instead I tried to add like a little bit of movement, and this kind of reminds me more of like a symbol for a sun, but you know, it at least has like some curves in there. I don't think I could do it any better unless I want to go like really, really big, but there's kind of a limit to what I can build in survival. So I kind of thought about building something like this. I don't think it's like the best building out there, but I kind of have to get like something down, right? First of all, the water wheel combined with the water. For the water, I already mentioned that I want to terraform kind of a river into my area. And this also allows me to have different water levels, and I feel like this definitely could imply some sort of movement over time. Luckily, we already have some mossy cobble, so we can just use that one on the sides. Obviously, it's going to be a lot greener. The only issue is we only have like 45 blocks, if I recall correctly, so we might have to find like another spawner. I didn't actually find anything good to use for a shaft, because we can't even rotate logs, which would be like kind of the classic thing that I would use in this situation. So instead, I'm just mostly using regular planks as well as the logs in this position, just to add a little bit more texture in the building. We have a shaft that goes inside and then comes out up here. There are like multiple gearboxes basically inside. And then we have this massive, well, saw, I guess. It's going to cost some iron to build those blocks, but I really don't see any other way to do this. And again, we can't actually rotate those blocks around, which is kind of an issue. The best detail I could actually add was like a little bit of sand to kind of imply the sawdust, but we are again quite limited. I wanted to keep the actual saw part kind of open just so you can see it, but this is obviously just decorative. This does have no functionality at all. And then I built the actual house. It's quite simple still. Again, like I kind of want to have a more plausible kind of building style for the most part, which means this would be one of the first buildings that was built in the area for the sole reason that they need the resources to build like all of the other buildings. So I thought, you know what, it should be a relatively plain house, but I didn't just want to use planks all the way through because it just looks you know, kind of boring, so I at least added like a few logs to add some texture. But it's kind of limiting what we can actually do. Fences will also look slightly different where I'm going to be placing them, but you know, this is like kind of a start. Added like a little bit of wheat here. We can luckily hide some water in the corners of the house, and that at least gives it like a little bit of color and makes it like slightly more interesting. Not really, you know, efficient when it comes to the space though. Inside we have two floors. We have like a storage room on the bottom and a, I guess, smelting room on the top, as well as a fake bed over here. We also have like the shaft going through here. I'm just using some logs as like gearboxes. There might be like a better block that I could use, but I'm really struggling to come up with a better one. This doesn't mean that this is permanent. At some point I might actually go back into old buildings and change some stuff. Like for example, we could replace all of this with like upside down slabs, as well as these areas could also be like kind of straightened out, because obviously currently we can't just place stairs like this or even slabs. They just don't exist yet. So once we get like trapdoors and stuff, we can probably hide this gearbox. Something like this. This isn't, by the way, perfect, obviously. I feel like the gearbox is kind of just hanging in mid-air. Maybe we can combine it with something, but I wanted to keep the structure inside somehow to actually see that something is happening here. Like I could see polished basalt being a decent block for like this rotational shaft, actually, now that I think about it, but obviously it's going to be a lot of episodes before I can replace this. A lot of my decisions are just for, first of all, usability. I will need a lot of furnaces and I can't just build a super smelter, so it's probably easier to just have them laying around. And I also need a decent amount of storage as well as crafting tables, just so some of them are nearby. It also gives me enough space to actually have some signs around to actually indicate what's inside of the chests. At this point, I also can't just place signs on top of chests because like the shift clicking functionality does not exist yet in the game. Also, I can't stack chests because they count as full blocks, so they block each other if they are built on top of each other. As you can imagine, this is probably going to be quite some work to actually do that in survival, but there's actually another complication to all my terraforming here, and that is how water works. Currently, if you want to build kind of a river or something similar like that, you can just fill in water and do that on every single layer, and infinite water sources are going to fill. And this doesn't work in alpha yet. I'm going to show that later on as well. But what I'm gonna have to do is use another block that's like a indicator block basically. Place my water on top and then remove that indicator block to fill all of the water. This does mean that none of these are actually source blocks, which is annoying to actually swim in because the water actually has a lot of force in the old versions of Minecraft. But it's also just a lot of work because I can't just spam buckets and have it all fill. And now with all the planning out of the way, let's get to building. First of all, let's pick up a good spot. I would say it's just near this little bay area. I thought the river could actually go through here-ish. That would allow me to terraform a lot less. Right, like if the river ends over here, that means the actual lumber mill would be around there. I'm still gonna have to dig a lot, and I mean a lot, with stone tools again, because I don't want to use all my iron yet. So yeah, let's get to building. Have you ever built something for multiple hours and then looked at it from different angles and over time just thought, you know what, I thought this was fine, and then just kind of decided against it? Yeah, that's kind of the phase I'm currently in. I have to say, I'm still kind of toying with the idea of having a lumber mill, and I wanted this to be the first building I built just because, again, it would make sense in a story kind of perspective for the whole town. But I'm just not fine with this currently. There are like multiple issues I'm facing. One of them is the actual water wheel. So there are like actually multiple problems with that one. First of all, I have to line it up from the back, because otherwise mobs can spawn on it during the night. Also just, I don't know. I feel like there couldn't be some improvement with the actual wheel. Obviously it's not currently in water, but it's still somewhat off. And also the issue is during the day, actually there's more an issue during the day than the night. It's that the wood from the actual water wheel and the background, like the house, just kind of blends together, and it kind of just looks wonky, especially from a distance. Like currently at night it actually looks fine in my opinion, right? I can at least see what's kind of being depicted here. Still, I will probably remove this. The actual house I'm actually fine with for the most part. Again, we are kind of limited on blocks, but I think this is more or less what I can do, and it's also a decent starting point to actually build something. Like if we go inside, we have like a lot of storage. Again, this was like the main reason why I did this. We still have like kind of the issue with lighting, because torches only give off like a light level of 14 or so. It should actually not have changed since then. And it's just not lighting up enough, since mobs can still spawn at like light level 8 or lower, I think, or was it 7 or lower? I would actually have to check it, but it's definitely getting dark in some spots. But for now this is actually fine. Like as an interior, I think this is going to be quite usable. Obviously we're still missing the windows, but I actually want to do that together just because there are some quirks when it comes to fences. But yeah, I think this house is going to undergo some changes, probably next episode though, because I've spent too much time on this episode already. But while I was building, I also kind of lit up like the entire area around us. There are probably like 2 or 3 stacks of torches just staying around. This is at least going to allow me to chop some woods at night, which is going to be a vast improvement. Like at least I don't have to waste like 10 minutes every 10 minutes. But let's talk about fences, because fences are kind of weird in this version, and they're going to be kind of weird until like the full release, I want to say. First of all, let's just put them in here. That should be no problem. As you can see, we can just build fences and they don't currently connect to anything. But fences are actually additionally quite weird because they have like a really weird hitbox, at least like compared to what we know currently. As you can see, there's like a proper box actually line, like there's an outline around this fence. This means that there's actually, you know, a full block we can't actually touch. We still can't jump over it, it's like still too high. But from what I remember, it's actually... Okay, it's actually fine. I remember there were like some glitches when it came to fences just getting on them, but I feel like in single player that's probably fine. But there's like another weird quirk when it comes to fences, and that is I can't actually place fences on top of fences. I don't actually know if this works. By the way, you can also see that stairs are really weird. Like this was a stair, I just placed a block on top of it and now it's gone. So if you want to actually build fences on top of each other, you actually have to start at the top. I remember building like a massive bridge back in the day and having to do that for many hours, but you basically have to just build some dirt scaffolding and then you can just put places like top to bottom. Another funny thing is just that both slabs and stairs, I don't actually know if the slabs count, but like at least stairs don't actually block light properly, which means that during the day it's actually quite bright inside of here, but during the night we still need all of those torches. But anyway, I'm gonna think about this build for a few more days probably. I'm gonna overthink like a lot of stuff in here. And I'm also going to probably build a new building that's going to be the lumber mill. When I built this part on the side here, the actual mill part you could say, or like the saw, I actually built that one kind of from memory, from what I remember what a sawmill might look like, mainly like from the sawmills that I had seen in games. But while I had to wait for like all the nights to end, I actually just looked at the Wikipedia article in the middle and was like, you know what, this kind of looks off, how would it actually look like in reality? And there are actually a lot of different methods, and I will probably incorporate that one into the actual mill. But instead I might just build like a garden in here or something like that. I could probably have like a stairway going up here, so I actually have like 2 exits out of my home anyway. And the last question for today is probably, when am I going to update? Because I mentioned that I actually wanted to update like a little bit quicker in the beginning until we reach beta 1.1, and then I would obviously wait until I'm 100% complete. And now that I have this list, I can actually work through all of the stuff that I need for this update. But I don't actually want to update to the next version yet until I've found 2 specific things, one of them being diamonds and the other one being obsidian. I kind of want to prepare it in a way that once I update, I can instantly just go into the nether and everything will be fine. Then we can kind of, you know, speed it all up. I have like an idea what I want to do with like this wall here. Currently it's just like a temporary thing, like a visual aid for me. I have an idea what I want to do to like properly, I'm gonna call it like finish the version. I have like an idea for a build, like a rough idea. But you will see that starting next episode, hopefully. Anyway, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll be seeing you next time. Till then, have a good one and bye bye.